Hey guys, thank you for joining. Episode number 20.
Can't believe it.
Next question with Vinnie and Jenilee. It is an absolutely beautiful thing.
It is? It is. That's a lot.
Yeah, dude. I'm so glad we started these. These are actually one. So, on one of my posts on Instagram today, I put up like my New Year's resolution. I always like to write down things that I want to be better at the next year, have goals and whatnot. This is one thing that like really makes me happy. We'll get another 50 episodes in next year.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep it going. Knowledge is power.
Very true.
Knowledge is power. So
Very
the more knowledge that you guys have, the better that all the dogs are going to be behaved. Let's mix this up.
Okay.
Come in hot. I know Jay's been practicing.
I'm not.
All right.
Okay.
Let's get rocking. Let's do it. On time today, by the way.
On time.
On time.
That's the first.
Yes, ma'am. Let's do it.
Okay. My 13-week-old golden doodle started to run away when I call her. How can I get her to come instead of running away like it's a game?
Keep a leash on her the whole time. Stop giving her the ability to run away from you. As soon as she gets to you, make it fun and engaging. Don't just give her a treat. Make it a fun thing. But you got to keep a leash on her. Of course, they're going to run away. They're curious. That's their job. Next question.
Our new puppy, Golden, 14 weeks,
Yes, ma'am.
will not leave the other dogs in the house alone. She is constantly biting them and hanging on their fur. Our Burner, 4 years old, she does this to just stands there and begs me to help, but does nothing to stop her herself.
It's not her job, right? So that's as it continued.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our other dog, a Saint Bernard Shepherd mix, 9 years old, growls and snaps at her, but she just doesn't back down. What can we do other than separate them?
Yeah, what you guys have to remember is that you should not rely on your older dogs to correct your puppy. That is your job, not your older dog's job. So say that you guys are hanging out and you're in the living room and the puppy starts to kind of nip on the older dogs. Well, you need to become more engaging than the other dog. So you got to use a leash on the puppy so I can control their movements, bring them back to me. But I also, and I think this is one of the biggest things, is you talked about you don't want to separate, but there's times where your older dogs would plead for separation. And it is important to say, hey, you get your own time, you get your own alone time.
Yeah.
So after a long walk or after a nice training session, put the puppy in the crate for 15, 30 minutes, let the older dogs have a little bit of freedom, stretch their legs, and we crate and rotate as needed. But use that leash all the time. Next question.
I have a 5-year-old Shepherd mix, and he is terrified to go to the groomers and or get his nails cut. He slips his harness or collar and takes off whenever we get near the door. He needs his nails done, but I don't know how.
Okay, so I think there's two things that we got to address there. The biggest thing is slipping the harness, and
It's dangerous.
Yeah, well, you need to get a better collar, right? So you can get a really tight martingale collar, you get a Herm Sprenger collar. Those are two collars that can't come off. I would not recommend a harness because your dog's going to weasel their way right out of it, and then. But you have to practice opening up the door. Your dog tries to run out, you shut the door in their face, and you tell them no. They sit back down. You tell them good. You open up the door and you shut it, and you continue. From now on, every time that you go out to the bathroom, which should be a minimum 5 times a day, the dog should have to sit and wait until you say it's time to go out the door. Next question.
My 1-year-old Shepherd Lab won't stop chewing on the bars of her crate. She has managed to escape twice. So she really goes to town on the door. We have playtime before she goes in, literally play in the yard till she drops. I've tried putting a chew toys in the crate to keep her occupied and a piece of my clothing to comfort her while I'm gone, but nothing seems to help. Her nose is totally raw at this point. How can I get her to stop?
First off, you read that beautifully. Very well done. You breezed through that. So what you guys have to understand is you're trying to physically tire out your dog and throw him in the crate, but what you're actually doing is you're ramping the brain up, right? We're getting our dog to a point where the brain's going 1,000,000 miles an hour before I put him into the crate, and they're all anxious, they're all overexcited, and throw them in the crate. Physically, they're tired, but mentally, they're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, right? That's not a good thing. Now, the other thing you have to do is you have to do more mental exercise, and you also have to, the biggest thing is the only time you're putting the dog in the crate is when you leave. Your dog should be in the crate for nap times during the day, and your dog should also be in crate maybe even at night just so it has a better experience with the crate. So the crate doesn't mean my human is leaving.
Right.
It only means that, I'm going to take a little nap or I'm going to take just a sleepy time. Yeah. Next question.
Favorite brand of food and dog treats?
Okay, so the food thing you can't ask me. I'm not a dog nutritionalist, so I would really
Do your research.
Yeah, that's hard just because of what happened with the FDA, and I'm not sure exactly about all the information that came from that. But I'll tell you my favorite brand of dog treats. Like I love Stewart's freeze-dried chicken. I love their freeze-dried turkey.
Yeah.
I love Oma's turkey hearts. Someone actually, who lives in Florida, with the 4 German Short Pointers, she's going to kill me. I can't remember.
Sonia.
Jesus. How do you say her last name?
I don't know.
But yeah, Sonia actually sells Oma's turkey heart. She's the one who got it for me. But I love that stuff. Yep. Perfect. Next question.
My Aussie Border Collie mix had a very serious bout of seizures. She had some brain damage that left her with less vision, could be temporary. But I was hoping for some advice to build her confidence back. She's been stuck to me like glue since this incident. My poor girl seems to be afraid of everything.
So what happens in a case like this, right? So we feel terrible that something bad happened to the dog, because that's just what happens. Sitting here listening to it, it's like, oh, Jesus, this sucks. This poor dog. But you can't act like that. If you have a dog who's nervous, the last thing that you want to do, or if you had a dog who went through shit, the last thing that you want to do is feel bad or guilty or coddle them, because you're just reinforcing that state of mind. So the easiest way to make my dog feel more confident is by to do more with them, right? So if I get my dog doing things in the house, like for instance, if I do sit down, stay, come, and I praise my dog for it, my dog goes, holy shit, I'm great, man. I did really good. I feel really good about myself. And I want to do a lot of obedience training to where we're not just sitting in the house. It's not just about us hanging out. It's about us doing something together. So the obedience, leash walking, and then exposure is the biggest thing. We should be going out to church parking lots every week. When our dog's confident there, then we're going to go to a very, very small shopping plaza. Then we're going to go to like Lowe's, and we'll continue to expand from there. Great question. And this make sure that you don't hold your dog back just because your dog had a terrible thing happen. Next question.
How can I get my dog to stop barking at every noise all day long? We just got a silent whistle, but I feel bad using it.
Yeah, don't. So here's the thing about barking. It's not a problem. Barking is an outcome of a dog who's anxious, and they bark because they have nothing else to do, and then it turns into a learned behavior to where now I bark at everything. A lot of our clients that deal with barky dogs, we tell them that you need to start doing more first before we even worry about correcting the barking, because there's a huge breakdown in our routine and our structure with the dog to cause them to bark at every little thing. So I would first suggest that we should give 45 to 60 minutes every day of structured leash walks or leash exercises outside. And then I would also suggest about 10 or 15 minutes of 3 times daily of obedience in the house. And if you're not giving them that, they should bark, because that's just it's a message to you that we need to do more with our dog. Now, if you are doing that, then we could discuss, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's the first thing that I would do. Next question. Dude, I got this tickle in my throat. It's going to be the whole day.
But you're towards the end, because I have that.
Oh, nice. Great.
Okay, our dog, Shepherd Mix, chases light and light reflections in the house. We are worried it will drive him crazy, as it seems a bit neurotic. Michelle met with us last week and said she'd check with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. First things first. Just actually back to the barking, right? So Michelle talked to me about this, and I'm glad that you asked this question here. So the first things first. Now we get our dog onto a routine of structured exercise. And then if our dog if our dog continues to fixate on lights, and I know you guys never use the laser pointer, thank God, but that's the easiest way to get your dog to become obsessive. Okay. If you guys are using a laser pointer, chuck it out. Right now. Chuck it. Get rid of it. So, but if our dog starts to fixate, we actually use a leash a lot in the house for a dog like this, because we don't allow them to fixate. We do a lot of place, we do a lot of kennel, and we do a lot of like, hey, I'm going to go to the kitchen, you're coming with me. I'm going to go to the bathroom, you're coming with me. I'm going to go over this way, you're going to do an obedience command while I do it. You have to give them something else. If I don't, then you're going to run into a world of hurt. The goal is to get my dog so focused on you and the commands that you're giving your dog that they forget about or don't pay as much attention to the light fixation. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Perfect. Next question.
What do you do when on a walk or run with your dogs and a loose dog starts coming at you?
This is the worst question of all time. Not because I don't like the question, just because it's a terrible situation. I have a really good video going on. I took like 7 videos for you guys today. It was on my phone for 10 hours, my phone told me. But here's the thing that I would say. Most people who get put, this is a terrible situation, but most people who get put in a situation where a dog runs off leash at them feel guilty about yelling at that dog or yelling at the owner, or they feel almost like it's their fault somehow, right? So and I don't know why this is, but when people go on a walk and a dog comes up, it's like, oh, I don't know. Dude, you do the opposite.
Take charge.
There's no rules at this point, and that's something that you have to understand. There's absolutely no rules. That dog is making a mistake because that human failed that dog, And unfortunately, the dog is going to bear the brunt of it. If the dog's happy-go-lucky and your dog is happy-go-lucky, fine, no big deal. Right? So if I'm on a walk with my dogs and I see a dog is friendly and I can tell they're friendly, I'll probably just drop the leash and let my dog hang out with that dog and play and do the whole 9 yards. However, if that dog is slightly aggressive, if I'm unsure, if my dog is reactive, there is nothing that I wouldn't do to protect my family. And my dogs are my family. At that point, if I have to use my keys to throw at the dog, if I have to use my feet to swing at the dog, if I have to use mace to throw to spray at the dog, I don't care. To me, and if the owner has a problem with it, so be it. The way that I look, like I take my dogs off leash when we go hiking. If my dogs ever went away from me and went into somebody else's space and they corrected my dog, I would be pissed at myself for failing my dog. I would not be pissed at them for correcting my dog. Does that answer that pretty in-depthly? Next question.
How can I get my dogs to not put half their bodies out the window if they see another person or animal or
Close
something?
the window. Next question. So close the window, put them on a leash and a seatbelt, or put them in the crate. And I would probably suggest 2 of the 3. Next question.
When we play fetch with
Yeah,
Gio,
stop putting the window down. The more I think about it, your dogs are going to kill them. Keep the
a lot of
windows up.
people think that you should have your window all the way down. You should not. It's like not good for your dog.
Yeah, just put it up.
Yeah.
Just put it up. Who cares?
Crack
They don't.
it.
Yeah, no, don't even crack it.
Oh.
Just put them up. It was a point. It's a dog. They don't care anyways.
When we play fetch with
You hurt
Gio,
my dog's feet. Put the window up. Put the window up. Put the window up. You'll save his life. You'll save your life. But put a seatbelt on him or put him in the crate. Next question.
when we play
Next question.
When we play fetch with Gio in our house, we can't get the toy off of him. Manic. That's all it says.
When we play with Gio in our house, we can't. Maniac. Jesus.
Oh, first mess up tonight.
When we play fetch with Gio in our house, we can't get a toy off him. Okay, so here's an easy game that you would play to get a dog to drop the toy, right? So if I have a dog, especially a young dog, I can keep a little leash on him. I throw the tennis ball. He brings me it back. I grab the leash. I tell him sit. He sits down. I grab my treat. I give him the treat. When I give him the treat, he's going to drop the toy. I have to make sure it's a pretty high value treat. He eats the treat. I throw the ball, and I go through this process of sit and drop and sit and drop and sit and drop and so on and so forth. Now, my dog is understanding that he's going to get a treat almost every time, so this gets pretty easy. And then eventually, once my dog understands the expected behavior, because now my dog knows drop, I'll tell him drop, and if he doesn't, I'll grab the leash and I'll give it a firm leash tug. And he's going to go, oh, wow, I didn't see that one coming. He'll spit it out. Good boy, throw the ball. Now, he gets no treat on that one. He brings it back. I'd say sit and drop. He drops it. Perfect. I'll give you a treat on this one. I chuck the ball. He brings it back. Sit and drop. He drops it. No treat on this one, but I'll throw the ball. And then I go to that variable reward system where he gets a treat 1 out of every 2, 3, 4, 5, 17 reps. Then your dog is perfect at drop it. You need to use the treat almost every time at the beginning and then fade away from that. We actually did a really nice video on that today too. I would check that out. Next question.
My 1.5-year-old Aussie mix used to jump on my little nieces and nephews, but finally learned not to. She also stopped jumping on us when we come home.
Nice.
But in every other context and with other adults, she jumps up even though I tell her to stay down. She's 65 pounds and could easily knock someone over.
Oh, big time.
Since she's very calm around these 2-year-olds, we think she can learn how to tame herself around adults.
She can't. She never will. Your dog's never going to teach herself automatically to be calm around the adult. She's not going to teach herself to not jump. That's your job. Right, so she could eventually stop jumping when she's 13, but I don't have enough patience to wait 11 years to teach my dog to stop jumping. So we're going to take the initiative, and we'll teach our dog to stop jumping. Now, how do we do that, Jay?
Leash.
Yeah, well, that's a great one. A leash and a training collar is easiest because you have complete control of your dog's mobility.
Okay.
Right? We can also practice place and stay. And we can also use the pet corrector when other people come into the house. You can only use that if there's only one dog in the home or one dog in a room, and you should only use that for jumping. Next question.
We rescued an 11-week Dalmatian who ended up having a broken tail tip.
Oh.
After a long process to try and save it, he ended up having to have the tail docked.
Yeah.
He now still spins and barks at it. The vet thinks phantom pain, but it's been almost 4 months since the surgery. Thoughts to help relieve his anxiety from this?
This is a very good question. A very, very good question. And that's an interesting response from the vet. And you know what, to be honest, that's a very interesting question. So we have an 11-week-old dog who broke their tail. The tail's gone. This is what we call a learned behavior. So my dog picked up on a behavior pattern of looking back at his tail. when we chopped the tail off, he still had the behavior pattern of looking back at his tail. It's not like he forgot the behavior pattern itself, even though we chopped the tail off. So what you need to do is just same thing as the light chasing and the barking. This is not a problem. This is an outcome of anxiety and stress. I need to combat the anxiety and the stress, not the tail chasing. The way we do that is through a lot of mental exercise, a lot of physical exercise, and a lot of obedience training daily. And then I want to make sure that I'm crate training my dog. So one thing that people don't understand is if your dog is perfect in the crate, it gives you an hour of a break to where the dog does nothing. But you have to teach the dog that you stay inside the crate and all is good and all is well. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So make sure you are using your crate as much as possible. Next question.
How do I get a 11-month-old lab to stop peeing in the room in zigzag lines and be able to hold it to go out? I let him out every couple hours, but he can't hold it long periods without going in the home daily. It's not just in one spot like most dogs do. He literally will zigzag throughout the living room, kitchen, and hallway if we don't notice him doing it right away.
That's the problem. Your dog should never have the ability to get down the hallway or into the bedroom. Your dog should be directly in front of you all the time. You have to use baby gates and confine your space, and you have to confine your dog's space when you leave for work. So if you're giving your dog a lot of freedom, understand that they will abuse freedom. They're the greatest manipulators in the world. So the thing that I would do is I would use a baby gate, and you're taking him out every couple hours, but he's clearly telling you he needs to go out every hour and a half. He's not ready to go for the full few hours because he's not mature enough yet. So we take him out more frequently. We limit his space inside the home. Treat him every time he goes to the bathroom outside, as soon as he goes outside, not once he comes back in. Next question.
How do I get an almost 2-year-old neutered dog to stop marking that he hadn't been doing this in prior?
Okay, so there's two things that this question is missing, so I'm going to go through both of them. Will you clean your glasses for the love of God? It's been like 3 minutes, and it's fine. They can't see. What was happening? So 2-year-old dog.
So he's neutered, he's still marking, and he hadn't been doing this.
So is he marking in the house, or I'm assuming he's marking in the house. Is it when you're home or not home? If it's when you're not home, he's into the crate, and that's the end of it. If it's when you're home, the same answer as the last question. You need to limit space and keep him in front of you. You can keep him on a leash, so this really limits his freedom, so he can't pee on anything. But that's how I would go about that. Next question.
8-month, recently rescued pit mix will not stop nipping to initiate play. How can I get him to stop? We have a 8 and 4-year-old who are becoming weary of him when he's
in hyper mode.
Yeah.
The zoomies. When he gets ecstatic. So how old is he?
8 months.
All right. And I'm going to sound, once again, guys, I'm going to sound repetitive on some of these answers because they're necessary answers. So your question, why is he getting, what do I do when my dog starts to nip me, right? And everybody wants the easiest way to punish it and the easiest way to correct the behavior. And that's fine. I don't mind that. But what you have to understand is if you're not actively doing anything to change your dog's behavior, you correcting it is eventually going to fall flat on your face, right? So if I correct him and I correct him and I correct him, but I never get rid of the energy, eventually he's going to become immune to a correction and he's going to stop caring. That is a huge problem. So when you have an 8-month-old dog who's nippy and he's getting hyper, that's because he needs a lot. This is a really young dog who's getting more and more energy, and he will continue to do so over the next 6 months. That means I'm not doing near enough. I'm not putting him in a position to get rid of the energy productively. But then when he starts to actually come near and nip or bite, you could use the pet corrector or the squirt bottle or the leash in the house. But don't just focus on punishing or correcting. Focus on fixing the actual issue. The actual issue is we're not doing enough with our dog. Next question.
Jenilee or Vinnie, have you ever had to stop a fight between two dogs? Mm-hmm. What is the safest, most effective way to quickly end one without getting yourself hurt?
Okay, so this is a 2-person system. All right, so there's only a few ways to stop this, right? So people will use like a fire extinguisher or a hose, which is fine if there's one person. Yeah. But there's a method called the wheelbarrow technique, and it's the most effective technique out there. And I've unfortunately I've had to do it a few times when I just walked into a house on 3 separate occasions, and the dogs went after each other. It's like holy shit. But everybody panics and starts grabbing right away. It's the easiest way to really dice your hand up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Because at that point they're seeing red, right? So I'm going to show you guys this. So let's just say that this is my dog. Can you guys both see this? Yeah. So this is my dog, right? And he's fighting this dog over here. So we're going to communicate, myself and the other person here, hey, and remember, this is going to take 15 seconds, and that's fine. You have to stay as calm as you can, right? So, okay, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? You're going to grab your dog's back legs, and you're going to lift them straight up like a wheelbarrow. So I'm going to grab the back legs, and I'm going to lift straight up in the air. And they're going to do that too. And eventually they're both going to be almost upside down. They're going to release at the same time. And then you're going to pull them away like this. And you're going to spin them. And you're going to continue to spin them. Now that sounds terrible. But then again, this dog's trying to kill the other dog.
Right.
There's no right or wrong. Now, they should never be in that position. If we believe the dogs are going to go after each other, they should be muzzled, crated, and separated, or on a leash. But if that does happen, that's how you solve that. You get one dog out of the way, and then we settle down, we reassess, and then we move on from there. Next question. That's a pretty good answer, too.
I like that question, yeah.
That was a great answer. I like that answer.
I like that answer.
Right.
Cece has stopped barking at the neighbor kids now. Just thought I'd post remarkable progress. Here's others realize just how crazy great you are.
I am the single greatest human being in this chair.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for cheese. Yeah, I know. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Okay. My dogs 2 and 6 are killing my landscaping and lawn. Any tips for creating a potty spot and training them to use it? Also, do you want to answer that first?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Also, my 6-year-old noticeably started marking his territory when we adopted the 2-year-old and marks constantly on our shrubs and walks. How do you know when he has to go versus marking and tips to stop?
So that's a great question. So let's take this in two pieces. The creating a potty spot. You can do this once again because dogs are creatures of habit, but normally you start this at a really young age. You take them out to the bathroom into the same general area every time, and you treat them in the same general area every time they go to the bathroom. You can restart this with your dogs, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not going to work. Now, when we say they're creating havoc on the lawn, does that mean that their urine is acidic and it's chewing up the grass? Well, then you should probably change the water or food because there is something going on there that you could change that would fix that problem. I'm not a nutritionist, so I wouldn't know what that is, but I know you could absolutely change that. The water actually might be the bigger of the two. Your tap water, what city do you live in? Hopefully it's something like that. That would be an easy fix. And then the 2-year-old who's marking on walks, he should never be able to go into the grass on a walk ever. You give, I lied, one chance on the walk, and that's it, and that's halfway. I'll let him pee at the beginning of the walk, I'll let him pee at the end of the walk, and once halfway. But other than that, you never let your dog go into the grass. They smell too much, they mark too much, they don't pay any attention to you. Don't forget that. Keep them moving forward on pavement. Next question. These are some really high quality questions.
Oh, that was the 6-year-old that noticed we started marking his territory when they adopted the 2-year-old and marks constantly on shrubs and walks.
Yeah, that's
still the 6-year-old.
Yeah,
so it's still the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My 6-month-old.
Did you doubt my greatness?
No.
Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame.
Okay, my 6-month-old teacup chihuahua. Oh, I did that good. Learned she has a voice now. She barks at everyone and everything in sight. How do I get her to settle down?
That's great. Yeah, how about that? A little feisty chihuahua. Who would have figured their chihuahua would be feisty? Woo! Those are some fun dogs.
They are.
Chihuahuas are cute as heck. So what I would suggest, right? So my dog barks at a lot of stuff. Well, maybe I got to get it around a lot more in a positive association. So I would start my exposure training. I would go out and I would, if my dog starts to bark too much, I would kind of say, hey, no, pop. Hey, speaking of barking too much, there's a little pop-up here. But I would tell them no, and I would bring them back to me. And if they don't bark when and they engage with me, I'll reward them every time. But I would go out to the local community market or the local grocery store and walk around, and I would talk to everybody. Like when I go on a walk, I talk to everybody when I'm working with a client's dog. Why? Because I want my dog to know that I know them, but also I want that person to engage with me so my dog can learn not to react to that situation. Most people put their head down when they get near people. Then the first time I actually have to stop and talk to somebody, guess what happens? My dog loses their mind because they don't know how to deal with that situation. Talk to everybody, get your dog out more, correct them when they start to fixate on people, and reward them when they start to pay attention to you. Next question.
Okay, I don't know if this is a question. I love my 2 doodles so much that I don't want to have a social life that doesn't include them. If this is something you can perform your magic on, I don't want it. Laugh out loud. Seriously though, thanks to your amazing team of trainers, they have become even more wonderful parts of my life.
That's a beautiful thing. We cut her name off. I bet you I know who that is, though. Thank you so much. Is that Christy? I can't tell because with the name's cut off, but thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys are the absolute best.
We rescued an older GSP last January. She is such a lovable girl with us, but is so untrusting of other people. She will bark and even growl snap at our friends that she's met multiple times. I don't want her to be isolated when guests come to our house. What training is the best approach? One-on-one group classes.
You need one-on-one training. This is not a dog you put in group class until you have control over it. And this is something that we could absolutely go over and make sure that so for me, like I wouldn't want to give you too much information because you need someone to come in there and correct this problem. However, when guests do come in, no guest should ever pet your dog, no guest should ever acknowledge your dog. Your dog should be on leash, and you should muzzle train your dog with a Baskerville muzzle. Use a lot of food so your dog gets a really good association with that Baskerville muzzle. Reach out to me and shoot me a text or an email tonight, and we'll get you on the list and we'll get you taken care of. Thank you. I almost said thank you and good night. Next question.
I have a 7-month-old
Sadie Remington, same thing. She said same issue, absolutely same thing. Reach out to us. Love all this great info. So glad you guys do this. Thank you. You guys are absolutely worth it. Remember, knowledge is power. So I'm so glad to be in a position to help other people. Oh, another person.
We.
Who said? What'd I say?
He said I.
You.
It's we. We are so happy.
You French?
Other people.
You French now? Oui.
Okay.
Never doubt the great Vinnie.
Anyway.
Jamie says, never doubt the great Vinnie. How you doing?
Jamie, don't stick up for him.
Woo. Next question.
I have a 7-month-old golden doodle that mouths a lot. Sometimes hard and hurts. Most of the time during playtime. Sometimes I can just be standing or walking and she will do this. Mm-hmm. Is this normal puppy behavior, or is this something I would need additional help? I tried walking away, separating myself. Any suggestions to fix?
Yeah, so this is normal but unacceptable, and that's something that we have to realize. 7-month-old dog chewing and nipping is normal, but it's not acceptable. They do this, but you can't live like this, or it expands and it gets worse and worse. Walking away, giving your dog your space is a huge problem. If I walk away from a dog who's nipping and biting me, they've learned a really an important lesson, that I'm a coward and they can kind of push me around. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to stand there with a baseball bat, but once again, you can't allow this to continue. The biggest thing is a 7-month-old dog, when they get a lot of energy, you can really turn this into really good obedience sessions. So say I'm hanging out and all of a sudden my 7-month-old dog gets like a burst of energy. I'm like, oh shit, he's probably going to start jumping like an asshole and nipping me. Perfect. Get the kibble and let's pump out as much training as we possibly can in this instance. Because you know he has energy and you know he wants to do something, but you have to make him like training. That's the biggest thing. You have to make it fun, engaging, and interactive. If you could do that, then your problem is going to solve itself. But when your dog does continue to go after you, if you've done all the training, you've done all your leash walking, your obedience, then you can absolutely move to the next step, which would be correcting the unwanted behavior. No, Sammy Ray, you did not miss the question. You're good. Next question.
Okay, it's a long one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our 2-year-old Doberman Zara loves going for walks, playing frisbee, going to the park, etc. Basically anything outside. Big facts on that one. We have tried desensitizing the leash and prong collar, but having it laying around and randomly grabbing it. We have tried training prior to going to do these activities. We stopped announcing when and where we're going to decrease unnecessary anxiety, but she just lives for it all. She even reacts whenever my wife or I put on a jacket. It was all fine until we got another dog. Now our 90-pound Doberman amps up our 100-pound St. Bernard pup so much that the two of them will just run laps, continually barking and playing, fighting with each other until they are outside. Recommendations.
Yeah, so this is where you perfect the place and kennel exercise to a T. And you use your leash in the house on this situation because you know that if they get away from you, they're going to run around and create a huge game. If your place exercise is solid, and I'm talking solid that my dog can stay for 45 minutes. Is the oven still on, dog? It is.
Damn.
Dude, come on, son.
I'm the worst at that.
Jeez, this is why my heat bill is like $1 million a month.
I gotta only cook once a week.
Oh my goodness. Jenilee did make the greatest chicken pot pie of all time.
First time ever, guys.
Yeah, it was a home run. But you have to perfect place command. Like if your dog can't place for a half an hour, we're not there yet, right? I expect my dog to be able to play. Like I expect my dog to place for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, no matter what, without fault. But we got to get to that point where my dog can place with that distraction when I need it. So I have an automatic shut off button. I have an automatic way to chill my dog out. That would be the easiest thing. I would use my prong collar and leash on that exercise every day too. And maybe just put it on more frequently as well. So this way, don't just move it. Put it on, do nothing. Put it on, do training. Put it on, do a walk, come back in. So this way there's no rhyme or reason for anything. You don't want your dog to pick up on a certain pattern. Next question. This is my third water already. I'm done with my third water.
No question, just a comment. Vinnie is awesome. He taught me how to handle my
dog. Dude,
I
am all about this love tonight. I've never had this much love in one day in my entire life.
Okay, well listen to the love.
Yeah.
He taught me
I don't even get like this from my team. They never tell me I'm good or anything.
I don't know about your other team members. He taught me how to handle my dog immediately and no incidents since. I am no longer to speak of the past, just how good he is now.
I almost swore. You are absolutely right. You only focus on the now and moving forward, and we get the past out of our brain because it does not matter. It's not going to affect you anymore. But that is a mindset that I would take in your everyday life. I would not just take it in dog training. I honestly hate negative people. I refuse to be around them for a long period of time because I'm only here for, let's hope to God, 85, 90 years, and I'm not wasting my freaking time dealing with negative bullshit all the time.
Say it again.
No, say it once, Jay. Say it again. It's the worst dog training name.
No, but that comment's for sure. Take that into the new year, guys.
And cash it. By the way, 2 people left a tremendous review on Facebook and Google today, and I've had a great day today. I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Next question.
Okay, I am still having an issue with my golden doodle biting and not playful biting. I will put his leash on in the house and he seems to settle down. How long do I have to continue with the leash? Because when he's not on it, he doesn't get that biting isn't okay.
He's on leash, he's good, and when he's not good. So I was just reading the comment while I was doing this. So here's the thing. The tool, the leash, like anything else, you're going to continue to use it until you don't need it anymore, but you have to continue practicing until you can do this without the leash. You also want to make sure, guys, that you're focusing a lot on your relationship between you and your dog. Okay? If my dog is biting me a lot, that's a good sign that we don't have a tremendous relationship. People get offended when I say this, oh, my dog loves me, he sleeps with me. It's all bullshit. It doesn't matter, right? So if my dog is doing all of this, that means, man, somewhere in our relationship, there's a breakdown and he doesn't understand exactly how this should work. So I have to keep trying to fix our relationship by training. And when I say training, obedience, leash walks, tread, and scent train, anything like that, just engagement training, right? And then you can continue to use the leash and correct while you do all this stuff on the other side of this until eventually it catches up. And then my dog respects me. He wants to work for me. He listens to me. I can use commands when I need them, but I also don't need to use them. So just take your time and don't ever rush. People do the same thing with a training collar, like a prong collar. So my 3 dogs, you guys see the videos I put up. Well, Trigger's getting old, right? So he doesn't do many more videos and training videos. Well, he's fine, but he's not going to run out there 100 yards. But you'll watch when I do some work with my dogs. A lot of the times, most of the time, I don't use a leash with them. I don't use anything. But if I'm going to take my dog into Lowe's, I'm going to put a prong collar on him. Not because I need the prong collar. Right? I can't tell you the last time I've corrected one of them in a situation like that with a prong collar. But Vinnie, why do you use it? What if the situation comes up that I need it? Very rare. But what if it comes up and I do need it and I don't have it and I'm going, man, I wish I would have had it so I could have fixed that problem as soon as possible with a reliable collar. I'm already wasting time putting a collar on my dog. I might as well put one that is extremely effective and my dog doesn't mind it anyways. They freaking love the collar because of the association work that we do with it. So that was a small rant. But next question.
We rescued our Black Lab German Shepherd puppy about a month ago. He is 10 months old and constantly barking. We are learning that some of his barks are for attention, but other times he barks at neighbors from inside the house, other people, and dogs while on a walk, and other noises like a car door slamming. He also barks at cars and tries to chase after them on our walks. Is there any technique we can use to deter the
This
barking?
is what was making me bark. This is what making me cough.
Oh my gosh, I've been drinking it the whole time.
Uh-huh.
Both inside and outside of the house and the chasing after cars.
Yeah, so here's the thing that you want to first focus on, right? So your dog has... the first thing you want to focus on is if your dog is willing to bark at other people and other dogs outside on a leash and chase cars. That's the first thing I would focus on. Nothing else matters. Because that means I have terrible leash skills, which lead, once again, to a terrible rapport between me and my dog. I would get a 6 or a 5 foot leash. I would get what kind of dog did she say?
Shepherd. 10 months old.
Black Lab German Shepherd. So if it's over 60 pounds, get a 3.0 millimeter prong collar. If it's under, get a 2.25. If you have questions on how to use it or you're unsure, do not use it on your own. Do not use it on your own. Just call. I mean, It's not expensive to get a high quality trainer in there to fix this situation. But that's the first thing you need to fix is the reactivity towards the car, the reactivity towards people. More exposure, more talking to people. Correct your dog as soon as they fixate or they react. If your dog doesn't, you can absolutely reward them, get them out more and more and more. And then that will take care of almost everything. And you're going to see how much different your dog is just from fixing those two things. Next question.
Okay. What's the best way to introduce a cautious dog to new people entering the house? She will stand behind boyfriend or myself and bark/growl at the new person until they sit down or go away.
Okay. So, dogs on leash, meet the person outside. If the weather's nice, go for a 5-minute walk with them down the road. Hey, how you doing? Ignore my dog. Let's go for a walk together. We'll come back into the house. We go sit down at the kitchen table. You sit down at the kitchen table. Why? Because the dog can't be seen when we sit at the kitchen table. It makes the dog feel more confident. You sit me here. You're going to sit on that side. You put your dog in a sit, and your dog is not allowed to stand up. If they do, no, sit. You don't let them move because they have to know that you're telling them something to do all the time. If you can do that, then you're in business. Make sure no one ever pets your dog until your dog approaches them willingly and calmly. And it's going to be a while before they do that. But the leash will give you a shit ton of power in this situation. Next question.
My dog barks a lot at small sounds. Putting a can on the counter, dropping something, it seems like a nervous reaction. I'm fine with him barking when the doorbell rings or when someone knocks, but he seems on constant alert to these sounds that are normal around the house. How can I ease his anxiety to these normal household situations that may make a little noise?
All right, so we're going to go through a couple different steps on this one, right? So say my dog barks at something that I know he's going to bark at, right? So putting the can on the counter, you said he's going to bark at that, right? So you're going to do one of two things. You can put him in a sit and stay or a place stay and pick up the can, move it quietly, put it down. Pick up the can, move it quietly, put it down. He doesn't bark, we go give him a treat. Then I grab the leash, I walk him around, I put the thing down a little bit louder, and we continue. I want to try to distract his brain from barking at the can by giving him something else to do as well. You're not going to be able to do this all the time, but during training sessions, you can condition your dog that these little things mean nothing. That doesn't mean that if your dog starts to bark, you're going to take the treat and bribe him to you. This just means that you're going to try to get your dog engaged and focused on you when you do those little things so he doesn't care about those things anymore. When you guys come home, make sure no one acknowledges your dog for barking. No one asks him what's wrong or what's that or who's there, which people do all the time. This increases barking, which is a huge problem as well. Keep it pretty nonchalant and calm. Reward your dog when they're calm and continue to do a lot of mental exercise. Next question.
How do you teach stay?
So the easiest way to teach stay would be through place, right? Using a dog bed, whether it's a raised elevated bed that we use. If you want a link on that one, I love using Kuranda dog beds or a big orthopedic bed. You can also teach stay in a kennel. And here's how I would go about it, right? And you can teach stay on a random spot too. It's just easiest to start with a home base. Hey, you're fine. It's easiest to teach that with a home base, right? So how do you teach stay on, say, this random spot on the tile? I put my dog in a sit on leash. I tell him, sit, good boy, stay. I back up one step. He stays there. I walk back, give him a treat. Walk back one step, walk back to him, give him a treat. Grab the leash at ease or free, whatever word you want to, and I walk him around. Sit, good boy, stay. Back up one step, wait 4 seconds, give him a treat. He stands up, nope. Sit, walk back, no treat. You wait 4 seconds, go back to him. Does that make sense? In my brain, so my brain's going a million mile an hour. My brain, that flowed perfectly.
It did.
Like perfectly.
And I think we have a video on this.
Well, there you go. I'm a genius. Oh, dude, wait till you see my place training video that I took a 6-minute video today on place training, but it's not about stay. A little segue. It's about sending to place, which is one of the most important things. We always focus on staying on place, but we forget a little bit about the sending to place. Like, for instance, if I'm here and I say place, I expect my dog to walk down this hallway, around the bend, onto his place and stay there, right? So you have to focus on the sending away as well. This is a great question. Tremendous answer. Great segue to our newest video. Next question. Just a huge shout out to the people who share and comment on our videos. It puts us higher in the algorithm, and I extremely appreciate that. Because of you guys, that's why we're Pittsburgh's best. By the freaking way, mind you, on my goals for 2020 are to continue to be Pittsburgh's best until the day that I die. So we're going to have to win it 76 more years in a row. Next question.
My dog is extremely anxious. Any tips and tricks? Poor guy struggles.
Yeah, so just the same thing as what we talked about before. You need to do more exposure. You need to do more obedience. You need to do more structured walks. If you can do that, you're going to be fine. Set 10 to 15 minutes aside 3 times a day for obedience in the house and 45 to 60 minutes for outside. Get your dog doing new things, making it fun. Next question.
What are your thoughts on seatbelts for traveling dogs? And what brand do you recommend?
I don't recommend a certain brand because I don't know enough about the brands. I am a huge reviewer though, so like when I go on Amazon to order something, I will read 100 reviews, and just to make sure. I love seatbelts because it stops the dog from being able to pace or put their head out the window, like we talked about in that one post or that one question. Excuse me, this stuff is the worst, dude. It's just, this stuff is like just destroying my whole inner side. Goal number, stop interrupting Jenilee. Listen, this is called Next Question with Vinnie and Jenilee, okay? She's got an "and" next to her name. I got Next Question. But no, I love seatbelts. They're great. And I also love using a crate into the car. Jenilee's the single greatest human being in the world, by the way, if you guys didn't know that. Sometimes I tease her a lot on the show, but she's the greatest person of all time.
Boom.
Next question.
Okay, we answered this one, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Yeah.
How do I handle another dog running onto the street after my dog?
Yeah, watch that one. Because that was such a good answer. I can't re-give that one.
Best first step at working on leash reactivity. Does well with other dogs off leash.
Yeah, and this is common. So you want to perfect the leash skills in a church parking lot setting, right, or a neighborhood setting. If I can't walk my dog well with no distractions, you will fail when another dog comes around. So a lot of people, they'll walk their dog, the dog's walking in front, another dog comes out, and they go, oh shit, I got to get control of my dog. It's too late. At that point, you've already lost the battle. I can tell you there's going to be an explosion. So the first step is actually getting my dog to focus on me during the walk, teach him to heel. If you can teach him to heel, then you're in business. Then you can start to teach him to heel 50 feet from other dogs, 40 feet from... Every single dog on this planet can pass another dog when they go on a walk. Every dog. The question is, how much distance do they need to be successful? Some dogs need 2 inches. Some dogs need 5 feet, and some dogs need 75 feet. It doesn't matter. You just slowly close that gap. Next question.
What are your thoughts on e-collars?
Hold on. I had to get that in there. Ask that one more time.
What are your thoughts on e-collars?
So I love them. I think they're one of the most... Between that and a prong collar, they have the worst rep of all time because people don't understand how they work and they don't understand how they use them. And people fear what they do not understand.
Right.
So when you talk about an e-collar, right, we're not talking about putting a collar on a dog, turning it up to 100, strapping it on his neck and jamming it every single time so the dog is, afraid of everything and doesn't want to do anything anymore. That's just not realistic. There's a great way to go through e-collar training, right? And there's a lot of a lot of ways to go about this. And there's 2 main e-collar companies that I would typically recommend: the Mini Educator 300C and the Dogtra 1900. Right? They're both tremendous e-collars. I own both of them. I don't use them all the time, but I like having the ability to understand how to use them and use them if needed. The easiest thing about an e-collar to understand is these are called low stimulation e-collars. So for instance, I did e-collar train both of my younger 2 dogs. And I actually did this after I taught them recall with like a 100-foot rope and for months and months and months. And I did it the old school way of no e-collar, no e-collar, no e-collar. And they learned it perfectly. It just took about 15 times longer than it would have if I would have just done low-level stimulation training. Now, low-level stimulation training, when I train Xena, she's on level 8 out of 127. I can't feel until it's 17 on my face. Yet this dog feels it at level 8 because she's sensitive, right? Now when she feels at 8, it's not that she goes like this, she does this. It's like someone touches you like this. So if I say here and my dog wouldn't look at me and I hit the level 8 and then all of a sudden, boom. But that's not how you start the e-collar training, right? So don't put that in your mind. You pair it with a prong collar. There's a huge process on how to go through that. If you have a question, you just reach out to me on that one. That's a little too much in depth. But I absolutely love the process. The problem is most people buy a shitty Chinese-made a shock collar, put it at level 92 out of 100. They shocked and scare the piss out of the dog, and then the dog is at that point and you can never use that collar again. You've ruined the whole collar. If you go through it the right way, the dog should actually enjoy the collar. They shouldn't. The same thing with a prong collar. They should enjoy the collar. You take your time with it. You do it the right way. Next question.
Okay. Hi, Vinnie.
Hi.
Zolo loves to greet people with a hard crotch and butt sniff. He really likes to shove his nose right in there. I realize this is a dog. I knew something was
It sounds like my ex-girlfriend.
I realize this is a dog thing, but rarely wanted by humans. What, if anything, can we do to get him to stop doing this to his human friends and family?
Yeah, this is always a fun. This stuff is making me cough. I like V8, but this stuff is for the birds, I think, Jay. So that one is.
Well, don't drink anymore.
Fine, I'm done. Look at this graveyard that I've had to drink during this. You guys can't see this, but it's insane the amount of liquid I go through here. Okay, so my dog is a crotch sniffer.
And a butt sniffer.
He's a butt sniffer and a crotch sniffer. So the first thing is never put. So what happens is normally a dog will jam their head in your crotch and people laugh, and then which entices the dog to do it again. Don't ever acknowledge it. Don't laugh at it. Don't think it's funny if you don't want it to happen and to continue to happen. If you're going to bring a guest over, tell the guest to ignore your dog, and you guys should be doing that when you come into the house. If I had a dog who was a crotch sniffer, and that's such a funny way to put it. But I have a crotch sniffing dog.
Get serious.
Somebody comes into my house, and my dog starts to crotch sniff. Well, as soon as he starts to do that, I'm going to tell him no. And if he doesn't, I'm going to give it a firm leash correction and tell him, you never do that again. That's unacceptable. Now, what's the easiest way to stop him from doing that? Teach him to sit to perfection, right? That person comes in, nope, sit. You go, oh, okay, I know I have to sit and I have to wait. We could bring this guest to the kitchen table. Don't let your dog greet this guest for 5 to 10 minutes. And if you waited 15 to 20, it wouldn't do a problem. It would do you a lot of good. And make sure you delay gratification of affection when somebody comes into the house. That's how I would go through that. Next question.
Hi, asking a question. Mm-hmm. Why does my dog excessively bark for no reason, and how do I make it stop? Even when we praise him for being quiet for days, it doesn't work.
Yeah, the whole thing of always praising your dog for being quiet, that's not gonna turn out well for us. And teaching your dog to bark to teach him to be quiet is never gonna turn out well either. So here's what I would say. We've gone through this. This is the third person that's asked the same general thing, right? Yeah. My dog barks a lot because he's anxious. My dog is anxious because I don't do enough with him. I don't do enough with him because he's typically not well behaved. So I got to get him good on leash and do a lot of leash exercise. I have to do a lot of obedience in the house, and I have to do a lot of engagement training. And I use a kennel too to shut him down for an hour or two, not because I'm angry or upset with him, just because I need a break. The more structured and regimented that you start to make your dog's life, the easier and more confident that he's going to be. Same thing with you guys. If you go to work and no one tells you what to do for that day, you're ready to absolutely punch somebody in the face. But if you understand what you should be doing at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, life is easy. Imagine that same thing for your dog. They have no idea what they should be doing all day long, so they freak out, they stress, they chew, they bark, they whine, they dig, they hump, they spin. But if you give them something to do, then you're going to be in business. Next question. David Dorsey's on the line. What's up, David? Next question.
Figured that I would ask about puppy interaction in your dog classes and when it's appropriate to start to involve a pup in a structured class. I just finished my first in-home session with Rachel. Love her.
She is the sweetest.
And I am beginning some basic obedience training with Rosie. Mm-hmm. She loves other dogs, but have noticed that she is super relentless when meeting others. Mm-hmm. She jumps all over my family.
Excuse me.
Pit bull who tolerates her, but she doesn't seem to take cues from other dogs when they are no longer interested in playing.
Okay, so a couple things. 6 months is the absolute minimum age. We normally ask a little bit older at dog class, depending on the maturity level of the dog and their leash skills. So once your dog is 6 months, 7 months old and has half decent leash skills, you bring them out, right? And that's one of the big things that you have to do, is you have to have good leash control, get them in an environment where they don't play with all dogs all the time. It's okay that your puppy wants to play a lot with other dogs. It's natural. And you want to get them around 100 different types of dogs. Old dogs, young dogs, small dogs, grumpy dogs, nothing that's mean or aggressive. But our dog has to learn how to deal with these certain situations. If I'm the puppy and I'm harassing this other dog, you need to take control of me, not expect this dog to correct me. I take control by using a 6-foot drag leash in the house and saying, hey, come this way now. That's too much training, and you don't get to go back over there. And your puppy's going to put up a hissy fit. I want to go play, I want to go play, I don't give a shit. I'm willing to sit here for 25 minutes and wait until you're calm to give you what you want. Set a precedent, and don't ever break from that precedent. But that's how I would go about that. That's a good question. When your dog's 7 months old, bring him to group class. 6 months old, bring him to group class, and we're going to be in business. Next question. Okay. Are we able to replay these Q&A videos? Absolutely. We put them up on our Facebook page. They're there for life. Thank you for asking a great question.
Okay. Obi has consistently sucked on a blanket or pillow since I got him 4 years ago. Although he has done this before, tonight I was washing his preferred pillow, and I'm assuming as a result, he would not stop trying to shove a toy in my face or hump me. He also seems to hump guests and other people when he's overstimulated or even sometimes tired and won't let himself relax. Is this anxiety? If so, any ideas for ways to help?
So it's stress and anxiety. Yes, ma'am. So it's stress and anxiety, and yes, there's a few really important things that I want you to do. You're going to go on a long walk with your dog. You're going to come back and you're going to practice place, stay, or kennel, whatever exercise of those three that you guys are doing. You're going to put him in a stay and you're going to pick up his blanket and he's going to freak the heck out. You're going to drop the blanket, you're going to tell him no, you're going to correct him and put him back in his spot. You're going to pick up the blanket and he's going to be fine. You're going to move around with it, you're going to drop it, you're going to give him a treat, you're going to release him, and you're going to do it again. And we're going to continue to do this process until my dog is good with me picking up his blanket. On the other end of this, I also want to teach my dog a long duration stay for when I'm not picking this stuff up. Because your dog has a hard time of shutting off around stimulus. Well, that means I have to figure out what's the easiest way to do that. Play stay, kennel stay, or just random stay, down stay somewhere, right? But I want to practice this a lot and then increase stimulus. If my dog is willing to get off the bed, that means that my command means nothing. It's not valuable enough. So the more that I practice these things and I start to add in more and more distractions, the better. But I also want to make sure that I exercise my dog before I do this, right? So I'm not going to take a dog who's not been exercised for 2 days and say, hey, I'm going to make you play stay while I pick up the blanket that you try to hump me when I grab or whatever that is. You got to put him in the best situation. So that means if I got to go for a 45-minute walk first to be successful, I got to go for a 45-minute walk to be successful. No big deal. I don't care about it. The next day, I hope to God, it's a 42-minute walk, and the next day, a 39-minute walk, and it continues to get easier until I never have to walk before this exercise, and my dog understands it fluently. Take your time with it. But anytime a dog is displaying one of these anxious traits, you want to practice how do I get rid of it around the stressor, right? Whether it's the vacuum, the lights, the blanket, the pillow. But I also got to work on it away from it too. That is the biggest thing. I really do enjoy putting a dog into a kennel for an hour, maybe once or twice a day when I'm home. So this way it chills them out. Dogs have a very hard time of just shutting down. It's very difficult for them to do that. You have to do a lot of that manually. So if you put your dog in a crate after a long walk and just walk away and call it a day, for them, they may not understand it at the beginning, so they'll bark a lot, but they'll get this quickly, right? As you put them in there and they just go, oh my God, I needed this so freaking much. Like a baby who you're putting to bed. Those are a lot of tremendous questions. I want to thank you.
That was a great show.
Yeah, I was on my best. I've got to be honest, I've never been better. I probably should never wear a hoodie. I think it was the t-shirt. Hoodies are still for sale, by the way. We still have 36 left. That's it. Out of 252. That's pretty freaking good.
That's good.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a text, email, call. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Great freaking day. A lot of compliments, a lot of good reviews today.
I still can't believe we've done 20 of these.
20 of these. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Time has flown by.
Yes.
You believe how long have we been at the doghouse? Since May.
May 1st.
7 months.
Yeah.
No, May 1st.
May 1st.
Yeah, how about that? 8 months.
Yeah.
That's incredible. God bless it. Dude, we're killing it.
Where's the year gone?
Love you guys. I appreciate you. Have a
Have a
happy
great
new
New
year.
Year.
Be safe. Don't be stupid.
Don't be
I don't want to
stupid.
read about you in the paper.
Your dogs are waiting for you at home.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.